am delighted to welcome you to Mastercard for this evening fireside chat with Zafar Masud and Momina Mustehsan. We are honored to be joined by Mr. Amir Ahmed Atuzai, who is the Consul General of Pakistan in New York, and grateful to Mastercard and the Mastercard Center for Inclusive Growth for hosting us. The Pakistan initiative brings together leaders from the government, business, academia, and civil society to strengthen the engagement between Pakistan and the international community. And today's discussion on banking, innovation, financial inclusion, and economic growth strongly reflects that vision. We are fortunate to be joined by Zafar Masud, who is the president and the CEO of the Bank of Punjab, and the author of the Seat 1C. We are equally pleased to welcome Momina Mustehsan, who is a musician, engineer, and an applied mathematician as our moderator. To begin this evening, it is my pleasure to invite Mr. Ravi Arora, who is the Senior Vice President of Multilateral and International Affairs at Mastercard. Ravi leads Mastercard's engagement with international institutions and partners on inclusive growth, economic development, and global cooperation. With that, please join me in welcoming Mr. Ravi Arora. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, and really a very warm welcome. And it's a warm day, but a warm welcome to everyone here. And thanks for joining us at our, what we call as our tech hub or technology hub in Mastercard. So it's a real pleasure to host this function, the program, and the dialogue and discussion with the Pakistan Initiative. And it's great to welcome this community of founders, investors, leaders, to really listen to Mr. Zafar Masud and Momina ji. So also a very warm welcome to the Consul General of Pakistan, Mr. Amir Ahmed Atuzai, and we're really honored, sir, by having you join us this evening. So, at Mastercard, one of the things we talk about a lot is, and which I think is very core to, you could say, the ethos of Mastercard, is around doing well by doing good. That's kind of, it runs pretty much across Mastercard. And we really believe in the power of public-private partnerships and the power of dialogue to unlock opportunity. Especially at the intersection of policy, innovation, inclusive economic growth. So I think that today's or this evening's discussion kind of reflects that shared commitment, to foster deeper engagement between United States and Pakistan across business, across technology, and on economic development. From a Mastercard point of view, our commitment and being a trusted partner to Pakistan runs pretty long and deep. We have been in Pakistan and operating in Pakistan for over 3 decades now, over 30 years. And during that time, we've been at Mastercard proud to serve as a trusted partner to both public and private sectors. And that partnership is really focused on supporting Pakistan's transition towards a more digital and a more inclusive economy. We work very closely with the State Bank of Pakistan and an ecosystem of more than 30 different financial institutions, fintechs, public sector entities to advance the country's digital and the cashless agenda. And this actually manifests itself in how do we secure the digital infrastructure? How do we make sure that cyber threats, we mitigate those risks so that people can trust, the digital and the digital payment system. And Mastercard has really leveraged state-of-the-art cyber capabilities to mitigate cyber risks as such. So, but more than that, we are also focused on sectors that are very critical to Pakistan's economy and in need of greater financial inclusion. Because whether you name small businesses, agriculture, micro enterprises, they account for nearly 60% of the country's GDP, but very heavily cash-based. So how do we help them, with better access to credit, get them from the informal into the formal economy, and recognize the opportunities that come from scaling digitalization in Pakistan? So that's kind of our commitment to what we are doing. And it is through these kind of partnerships with the State Bank of Punjab that we are helping extend that credit to underserved communities, reaching hundreds and thousands of smallholder farmers. These are small leasehold farmers, entrepreneurs with very tailored financial solutions right, to enable growth. And we talk a lot about financial health here at Mastercard. It's not only about giving access to somebody and yeah, you can bring them into the system, but if you're not sustaining that over the long time, you're not helping them build and scale and drive financial health. I think financial health is an important element. So I think that this evening is a great opportunity to engage with each other. There's networking later as well. Please do join us for that. And again, Hadi's already introduced, but I'll just say, Mr. Masud, thank you, Zafarji, for being here as President and CEO of Bank of Punjab, Chairman of the Pakistan Banks Association. So you not only bring a perspective of a leading financial institution for us, but a system-wide view across Pakistan's banking sector. And you have been a very strong voice in advancing financial inclusion and driving the modernization of Pakistan's financial ecosystem. So we really are looking forward to your insights.
Thank you.
And our moderator for today's discussion is the very famous Pakistani singer and songwriter, Miss Momina Mustehsan. Welcome. And as Hadi already mentioned, she was studied biomedical engineering, applied maths, and where she graduated from Stony Brook with double majors. And really looking forward to your moderation of today's discussion. So with that, without further ado, I'd like to welcome Momina ji and Zafar Sahab here to maybe explore the future of banking, fintech, digital transformation, and economic opportunity in Pakistan and beyond. So thank you very much, and once again, a warm welcome. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. As we greet in Pakistan, Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for the kind introduction, Mr. Ravi and Hadi, and thank you for joining us, Mr. Zafar. The greatest untapped resource in any economy is not capital, it's human potential. When a country expands access to banking, it's not creating wealth directly, it's enabling people to participate in the economy. Inclusive growth is ultimately about expanding opportunity, ensuring that innovation reaches beyond major cities, that capital flows beyond established networks, and that talent, regardless of geography, gender, or circumstances, has a pathway to contribute and thrive. But inclusive growth is not only about access, it's also about resilience, the ability of individuals, institutions, and economies to adapt, absorb shock, and continue moving forward in the face of disruption, whether economic, societal, technological, or environmental. Few people understand leadership, opportunity, and resilience better than Mr. Zafar Masud, who has spent his career at the forefront of finance, economic development, and institutional transformation. In April 2020, when Mr. Zafar was appointed the role of President and CEO of one of the largest banks in Pakistan, Bank of Punjab, after the leadership space was vacant for over 16 months. Just a few weeks after that, he became one of the only two survivors in one of the most tragic aviation disasters in Pakistan that claimed the lives of 100 people. What followed was not merely survival, but a return to responsibility, leading the institution through crisis and continuing its transformation. And by December 2020, the Pakistan Stock Exchange designated the Bank of Punjab as a market marker for debt securities, signaling confidence in its financial and operational strength during a period of national and global instability. So tonight we have the privilege of exploring these themes with someone who has experienced both extraordinary adversity, extraordinary responsibility, what it means to lead through uncertainty, and what resilience looks like in practice, not theory. There are a lot of different topics and tangents that we can explore with Mr. Masud, but because of time constraints, we're going to try and keep it short and talk about inclusive future of Pakistan. So let's begin. Pakistan is the fifth most populated country in the world. And it's one of the only countries that have established or has been able to achieve 98% digital ID onboarding. However, there are only 30% adults that have bank accounts or are part of formal financial systems. So my question to you, Mr. Masud, is that why hasn't widespread, well, when digital identity translated into widespread financial inclusion, what are the biggest barriers that still need to be overcome, and what is the biggest gap between Pakistan's potential and its current reality?
Thank you, Momina. Thank you, Arorati. Thank you, Councillor Saab. Thank you, Hadi, for putting it together. Thank you, my team. Asad Zia is also here. Thank you to my cousin who's come all the way to attend this event, Seema. So thank you to all of you. And it really means a lot to me that you have made an effort to come here for this discussion. Before I delve into responding directly to Momina's question, I must say that Mastercard is doing a phenomenal job in Pakistan. They have the 90% market share, and it's growing. The role that they're playing in terms of promoting financial inclusion in Pakistan is unmatched. And I have had a very fruitful discussion this afternoon, which Arora Saab is aware of, with the Vice Chairman, and we are furthering this whole idea and agenda of engaging with Mastercard and taking the documentation piece ahead. Momina, that kind of automatic dovetails into your first question. Nowhere financial inclusion takes place unless you create the necessary incentives in the process. And I guess those incentives are something which are lacking in the process. You can push things to an extent based on stick, but the carrot is equally important. And I guess that carrot is still missing in the whole equation. The carrot could come through in the form of giving the tax breaks. It could come through in the form of giving other benefits to people. But the biggest incentive to my mind, and this is what we've experienced in Bank of Punjab jointly with Mastercard, is to give people the incentive of credit. And the moment you start giving them the incentive of credit, credit which makes sense for them, credit which is attractive, they respond to it quickly. And I guess the biggest barrier right now is the lack of that ecosystem which could promote that incentive in the process and the lending that is possible through digital means. We have treasure trove of data available in the form of various repositories in Pakistan, but they don't talk to each other. So financial data exchange type of initiative is a must. So while 98% people have the ID, but that's in silos. The people who have the bank account, they're operating in silos. People who have the electricity bills are you can't access them. The land data is not available. And I think if we really need to make an impact on financial inclusion, then the biggest incentive is financial inclusion via digital lending. There's no other way, and I think that is missing in the equation as of today, and hence, not much headway in that direction.
That's interesting. Why do you think that is the case, though? Are these separate entities not communicating with each other?
Yeah, Momina, there's a mindset issue, and mindset issue all across. People who have the access to data, they believe that this is something that they own, and they don't want to share with anyone. Now, again, the incentive plays a major role. If you tell them that, look, we will buy the data from you, and we'll buy the data, we'll pay you for it, and you don't have to give us the full access to the data, but to the extent that it is required, I think people will be more receptive to this. But I guess it is more to do with the mindset issue of not letting go of things. They believe that if they put it under a system, a financial data exchange, perhaps they will lose the control that they enjoy at this point in time. But then those mindsets needs to be changed, and as I said, carrot and stick policy, more so carrot than stick.
I have a follow-up question on that. When you say they, do you mean governing bodies? Do you mean private entities?
No, I mean, so this is where my big thing is, and this is my first book, by the way. It's called Out of the Box. The second edition is coming through now. There is a whole, this is a collection of my various opinion pieces put together over a period of time. One of the opinion piece which I really am very proud of is Charter of Society. So we hear all the time Charter of Economy, Charter of Democracy and blah blah blah. I only talk about one thing, Charter of Society. In UK, there is no constitution. This is only operating on Charter of Society. US has 4 pages of constitutional document, Charter of Society. And this is the Charter of Society which is necessary in order to, get over people and realize them that this is important to share their data. It is not just the governing body issue or the regulator issue, it is the issue of the individuals as well. We as an individual are very possessive about what we have. We don't like to share things. And that psyche needs to be changed. We need to understand in a collective way, in an inclusive way. The moment we start thinking in the inclusive way and collective way, our entire outlook towards sharing and caring would change substantially. And unfortunately, in Pakistan, although we have come a long way, but we're still not there in terms of making sure that our interests are aligned. And in some things, people have to agree that this is something which is the red line, not defined by the constitution, not defined by the politician, not defined by the regulator, not defined by the governing bodies, but in our own hearts. If we'll be able to understand that, I guess the things will be much more smooth.
That's a very interesting perspective, and I fully agree with that. This brings me to my second
By the way, just to let you know, Momina doesn't get agree easily. So we have had a session yesterday, and most of the stuff that we were talking about, she was not agreeing with me. So it's a big compliment.
Thank you. Well, I'll move on to my second question. It's about women inclusion. So Pakistan is roughly half the population is female, but only a quarter make up the workforce, and even a smaller percentage makes up people that have financial access. 18% have bank accounts. Why is that the case?
Yeah, so it's a collection of multiple things. To begin with, it's more of a cultural issue than anything else. It's a taboo that we do not encourage our women to go out and work, although that trend is changing. But if we'll be able to only meet the global percentage of 33% of women participation, I think we will be able to stack up another 25% to our GDP, which is more than $100 billion. And this is what we need to understand. But it's not just the economic piece, it is the social piece. The moment our women go out and work and get the exposure, they raise up a generation which is a completely different generation, who has a completely different outlook of things. They're much more open-minded, they're much more acceptance towards dissent. They accept the reality that they really have to deliver to be ahead in time, ahead in life. It is not the gender which has been put on the platter for them. So it's the economic piece I talked about, it's the social piece, but it is cultural thing. It is not a religious thing, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just make a very strong comment here. It is not a religious issue. If it was a religious issue, then Turkey wouldn't have had so much women participation. Malaysia, my God, the kind of women participation you see. And even now Saudi Arabia and Iran, the women are much more part of the system and participating in the economic activity and social activity than in Pakistan. It is a cultural matter. And we need to get over that cultural thing. In terms of delivery of our people, when the diversity was there, much more tolerant, not just to their own colleagues, but to the customers as well. And at the end of the day, it is the customer which is the king. The different perspective in the room give you the ability to take decisions which are unconventional in nature. And without unconventional decision, you can't make an impact.
I strongly agree with you that it is more cultural than religious. But it's really interesting for me to then think that we have more women in Pakistan in governance and policy, in leadership roles, than even in the United States. How does that happen?
Yeah, so some actions were taken in Pakistan where the women were given the quota and encouragement to come forward. For example, in the assembly there is a quota for women to come through and participate. But Momina, let me just be very honest with you. These things can take you that far. The real empowerment does not come through the quota or regulation or the rules. It comes through when at the individual level we start respecting women who go out and work. That again, my main issue is on the mindset again. The acceptance for our women to go out and work is something that we really need to cross over, we really need to graduate from.
So what do you think that looks like in practical terms? Having role models, setting precedents, how do we...
You are one role model, by the way. Surely, I mean, in the sense that Momina has been doing this for the last 10 years, maybe longer. And we have, by the way, graduated from a very closed society to now much more open-minded. But we have had our phases. We were quite open-minded, then we closed-minded, then we were... But people like her actually broke that barrier. And, you know, without knowing, by the way, I can bet my life that she has been able to break that glass ceiling because of the support coming from her father and her brothers. Without that, it is impossible in Pakistan. That's why I say it squarely rests on the men in the family to encourage the women to come through and participate.
And I think resilience. You know, for a very long time, I used to find the word women empowerment very confusing, especially when I worked with women extensively. It wouldn't make sense to me, but it meant that, oh, okay, this person is a champion of women empowerment, because having a math background, I would want tangible things to explain what is it that makes an example of empowerment. What I came to the conclusion was, I think a person living their potential, regardless of gender, is empowering to other people. If they can see a part of themselves in you, you are helping them believe, channel their own capabilities. And so I do strongly agree. If all of us learn about the strength that we possess within, then we do inspire other people to take up space as well. And thank you for being so kind with your words. Thank you. Okay, so now I think I'd want to talk about leapfrogging. Many emerging markets are leapfrogging traditional banking models through digital infrastructure. And digital finance is taking off in Pakistan. Where do you think Pakistan has an opportunity to leapfrog rather than catch up? Where does AI, fintech, and cryptocurrencies fit into that?
Oh my God, so you talked about all the three constituencies which needed a response separately on each one of them. So let me try and respond to them individually. So digital infrastructure we already talked about. So I'm going to skip that. It's all about, you know, putting the data together and making sure that, you know, the data is talking to each other and then data is being shared with the others too. The AI piece is, let me be very honest with you. We all are grappling with the reality what AI means. Let's please look into your own own self and be candid to yourself. Do you really understand what AI means? To my mind, the AI has always been there. The rudimentary form of AI was the Excel sheet, and it's been graduating from there to another level. The critical thing about AI that we need to understand is that it's a reality, it's a supporting system. We need to be ready to be answering the right questions to them to get the right response. If you do not ask them the right question, you will not get the right response. And this is where the training needs to be changed. And I was at this Deans and Directors, business schools conference. They invited me as a speaker, and my whole argument to them was that do not discourage people not to use AI, but ask them questions. One, and this is what we do in our organization as well. One, the data that you adopted, how credible that data was. Did you do that sanitization to figure out that the data was credible enough for you to build the decision on it? So that's the question number one. Number two, the model that you built, the robustness of that model, the peer review, have you got that done? Or is it something that you haven't gotten over with yet? Third, the questions that you heard, how did you frame those questions? If you do not know the subject yourself, you cannot ask the right questions, and therefore AI will not be helpful to you at all. And last but not the least, most importantly, the people who will be relying on your thesis and analysis, your argument to things based on AI, the impact on them. You must take that human responsibility of making sure that ethically and as a professional, you're doing your job right to not to give them the wrong impression about things using AI. We believe that AI तो ऐसे हो गया जैसे वो कुरान मजीद में से कोई निकल आया कि जी AI ने ये कह दिया तो बिल्कुल ठीक हो गया. ऐसा नहीं है, ऐसा बिल्कुल नहीं है. We need to be very clear. It's all about what you are asking and what you're getting, the quality of question. And as a matter of fact, in any organization, whoever will coming out with any model of the sorts using the AI, these questions need to be answered. These questions need to be answered by the students in the school to be able to train better to how to use these tools. The key is how to use these tools. These tools will be there. Last but not the least, crypto. Crypto is something that we do not need to be scared of. It's a reality. It is about to come. I will encourage, and I'm very glad, Arora ji, that a lot of younger people are here. At least मेरे standards से तो Momina भी young है और बाकी भी young है. But younger people are here. तो I would recommend them to pick up a book called Sovereign Individual. Fascinating book, written in 1996 by Resmug and Davidson. The book actually talks about how the individuals will become more powerful than the sovereigns. And today, if you look at the reality, actually the individuals are becoming more powerful. How? There are two sources of sovereign which are the strength of their might. One is kinetic, the other one is economic. Kinetic piece, with the cyber security coming through and individual having the handle of it, they can actually crumble the entire armed forces, because if they can control the systems of the military, then the military will come down, come down on the floor, won't be able to deliver anything. The other one is the currency. The core of everything is in the currency. For example, in US, it's the currency which makes US the superpower. And that has been centralized as well. So, agar the currency is issued by Arora Saab is more acceptable to me than Pak rupees, then Arora Saab is much more powerful, or Amir Saab is much more powerful than Pak rupee or Indian rupee or whatever we want to call it. And this is how the world is changing. And there will be cogent reasons for that as well. Cogent reason, because it's quite possible that Arora Saab has assigned his currency, the asset behind, which is a much more valuable asset than only the sovereign saying that their guarantee is behind it. People may feel much more comfortable with it. And it is a very powerful tool for financial inclusion. And especially a country like Pakistan, where more than 70% of the population is below the age of 30. There you have to change the ways of operation to be able to relate to these people. And crypto is the name of the game. We can't avoid it. We have to live with this. We only need to figure out how to work with it rather than. And Genius Act is a classic example of that. They have actually adopted it with the Genius Act. There are cogent use cases of remittances. There are cogent use cases of financial inclusion for younger people, for people, because the cost is very important. And for remittances, for example, in Pakistan, the cost, it varies between 2.5% to 6%. In case of crypto, stablecoin, it will be 0. And it will be instantaneous as well. So there are cogent reasons for it, and we should not shy away. I'm very pleased to share with all of you, the younger people from Pakistan especially, that Pakistan is much ahead in terms of their preparation for adopting crypto than the rest of the world. And I am pretty confident that we'll see a much more progress in that space.
And that actually leads me to the next question, since the freelancing and digital entrepreneurship community and remote workers are one of the most, most valuable exports coming from Pakistan. Since you mentioned 70% of the population is under the age of 30, and if you look at people under the age of 25, that number is exponentially higher. We're a very young country, and everyone has drive, ambition, and they want to be part of the global economy. And conventional banking systems are not catching up with their needs of these transactions. So I want to ask you, in many ways, talent is becoming one of Pakistan's most valuable exports. What needs to happen for Pakistan to fully unlock this opportunity? I know that we have developed PAVRA, Pakistan Virtual Asset Regulatory Authority. They have been working on regularizing crypto exchanges, but it hasn't happened yet. They've signed MOUs with some platforms, but nothing tangible has happened so far. How do you think?
So Momina, I would divorce this question from Pivara or crypto to freelancers first. So for freelancers, Arosa, 4 years ago, Mastercard and Bank of Punjab were the first one who launched a freelancer card in Pakistan. We have not been able to build on this, but my discussion from today's this afternoon, I think we can build on that one. It is a large population which is looking forward to sending the remittances in country. The challenge is that these are techies, and these techies have very limited understanding of the finances, and they just do not want to deal with the regulators. They don't want to deal with the FBRs of the world, the tax authorities, and this is where the reluctance is. So that shift has to come through in order for them to encourage bringing in the remittance into the country. I think we are the third or the fourth largest freelancer community in the world, but we have not been able to harness those remittances because of these barriers. And I guess with our collaboration, we will be able to make a headway in that direction. I am not very happy with the progress so far, but we shall be able to find some kind of solution to the problem whereby we'll be able to accommodate these freelancers. The Pivara piece, Pivara is been into existence for 6 months only. There, everybody is learning on the go. Again, let me make another very, I would say bold comment, as I made about AI. Very few people understand how crypto works as well. People still confuse between and the rest of the cryptos. Stablecoins are completely different offering than the Bitcoin. It has a completely different use case than the Bitcoin. But we do not understand them as different products, and hence there is some kind of negativity of not pursuing this in an aggressive fashion. Also, people are generally averse to the idea of adopting new things. They just like to operate in their own comfort zone, and breaking that comfort zone, coming out from the especially if you are my age, then perhaps you'll be very reluctant to break the comfort zone. At Momina's age, you may be able to do it. At your age, you may be able to do it. And then the policy makers are not the younger crowd who can push things through and make that decision to break the barrier. Having said that, in 6 months, they've done a great job in terms of where they stand. And in another 6 months, you will see a leapfrogging, in your words, Momina, in that direction.
From what I understand, because I had several meetings with the Prime Minister's office a couple of months ago, I think their biggest concern comes from irrelevancy of local currencies. Since crypto is not essentially, unless you're talking about stable coins, it has nothing to do with the nation state. So what concerns them is the implication of crypto exchanges on the Federal Reserve. How would you
mean
make them comfortable?
you mean the outflow?
Yes.
Okay, so let me tell you something. And this is the game plan that I have in mind, and I laid it out to Pivara as well. Look, the starting point should be to tackle the issue that you just raised. The starting point should be that we need to come out with the proposition which is a remittance-based proposition, as in remittance coming in, the worker remittance-based proposition. We will be recording the record, remittances this year, $52 billion. But there is still, in my mind, $13 to $15 billion more opportunity which is out there to be harnessed through the system. And that's where the stable coins of the world will play a key role. So we need to understand that we need to first start offering that, start building your reserve, and then decide how much reserve you want to have as a sovereign reserve for the stable coin. Let's say $1 billion. Just start with $1 billion. The moment you have $1 billion, then your concern of money going out will be subsided. The second piece is to have the local stable coins issued. Stable coin means the coin which will be connected, the currency which will be connected to the Pakistan rupees, issued. So you will have the two connection. You have the remittance coming in, converting into a local stable coin, and then you have a full ecosystem of the stable coin developed, while you still have a $1 billion reserve available. And then within that $1 billion, you have to pick and choose. For example, you need to use this for the critical imports which are required to be there to promote exports, for example. And that's the framework we need to work on, starting from inward remittances, to developing the local currency stable coin, and then building a reserve and taking it on from there. I think we are there. It's just a matter of time. As I said, it's not easy. It's not easy to adopt change. It's not easy to accept it right away. It takes some time, but I think we are moving in the right direction. We're moving at the right pace as well, because if you compare us with the other economies around, I think we've made a much better headway in that direction than anybody else.
So maybe in the sense of crypto, what Pakistan can do better is to work with the system instead of completely wanting to not be involved in it. There's no way that
no,
this
absolutely,
is here to stay.
absolutely, and that there's no way, there's no escaping. You cannot escape. Pigeon approach, bad idea. Closing the eyes and believing that the cat will go away, not happening. The cat is there. If you close your eyes, the cat will eat you. So might as well open the eyes, deal with the cat, or fly off. But you cannot be a pigeon with the closed eyes.
So So, I just have another question related to this, but I mean, not essentially crypto. Related to digital finance. So, would you draw parallels between digital financial infrastructures and physical infrastructures in previous generations when it comes to economic growth? Could digital financial infrastructure become as important to economic growth in the coming decade?
Oh yes.
As physical infrastructure?
Oh yes, and especially in a country like Pakistan, which is huge, which has a huge landmass, and the population is scattered. In order for us to bring in people into the financial inclusion and the mainstream, the only way, the most efficient way, is to go down the route of technology and digital. There is no other way, and we have proven that. Bank of Punjab has actually proven it. Arora Saab has the numbers. We have been able to, in the last 18 months, 1 million farmers we have brought into the financial inclusion through the digital means. We have been able to bring in, which is by the way 1/3 of the total farmers borrowing in Pakistan. We have been able to bring in 100,000 MSE, micro and small enterprises into the financial inclusion, which is 1/3 of the total lending SME borrowers in Pakistan in merely 4-5 months at the back of the technology. We have been able to, and this is the largest, by the way, it's the largest low-cost housing mortgage-based housing project in the world called Apni Chhat Apna Ghar, whereby, just to put things in context, 65,000 of mortgages are outstanding for 225 billion rupees, around $1 billion, slightly under $1 billion as of 31st of March. We launched this program, and now we stand at 200 billion rupees with 160,000 mortgages, and it is by far the largest mortgage-based low-cost housing program in the world, all at the back of technology, because there is no other way you can scale up things and make an impact, acquire these customer base without deploying the technology.
That's incredible. I'm going to switch gears a little bit now and talk about another challenge that Pakistan faces, being a country that identifies as the global south, the climate challenge. Climate change is often discussed as an environmental challenge, but increasingly it's also a financial challenge. How should financial institutions think about climate resilience, not just as risk management, but as an opportunity to drive long-term inclusive growth?
Yeah. So, Momina, great question, by the way. But let me just respond to it differently. So, first of all, I think about the climate, we need to get the narrative right. Humans are very mean creatures. We do not accept anything which is not in our favor. We need to make people realize how climate can impact their own health and their well-being. And that narrative needs to be built in. So wherever I talk about, for example, I talk about education and skill in the same vein as I talk about health and climate. Climate, to my mind, to begin with, is a health matter, and this is how it's supposed to be done. Now, when at the individual level, there is a realization that we need to be conscious about the climate compliance, people will start demanding what needed to be done by the financial institution, what needed to be done by the government, and what they individually owe to each other. Climate is a universal agenda. It is not the agenda of you and me and Amir Saab and Hadi. It is the agenda of each and every one on this planet. It doesn't have any boundaries. Therefore, that inclusivity and acceptance that we are all connected with each other on this matter, until unless they sink in, you will not get the real response, and hence there has not been much that has been done there. The challenge in Pakistan per se is that the quantum of financing is so humongous that the fiscal means can't meet those requirements. And we need to have more acceptance for the climate funding available out there, to be ready with them with the right projects to attract that funding. I think this is where we are lacking, and I think the financial institution has to step up and take the responsibility for it. But the starting point is at the individual level. Everybody needs to understand that climate matters to them in their own individual personality.
I think the resent in Pakistan also comes from the fact that we contribute less than 1% of greenhouse gases. And it's the countries of the global north that are responsible for climate change. And then the implications, financial, physical, are borne by countries like Pakistan that cannot afford to absorb those losses. We're primarily an agricultural-based economy. And the floods of 2023, I think 60% of
$30 billion.
suffered.
$30 billion.
And I think that is the case that Amir Saab would know, that we were trying to make at the UN also, quoting the Paris Agreement of reparations, so that rehabilitation could be financed. But then the problem was, how is that finance going to be distributed, and how do you make sure that you build infrastructure that prevent further damage?
Yeah, so Momina, to be honest, I think we are also not prepared to accept that money. So let's be honest about it. I know, and while the global north may be responsible for this high GSGs, but then they are also the ones who have made that funding available for the global south. Global south, countries like Pakistan are not prepared to accept that money. We need to put our act together to accept that funding as well. Nobody is stopping us, but we really need to take the advantage of that situation. And I guess it's actually a two-way thing. So let me just अरोड़ा साहब पंजाबी में ज़रा थोड़ा सा कर ली गल कहते ना वो हमारे मुनीर नियाजी साहब कहते ना कि कुछ शहर दे लोग भी जालिम सन कुछ सानू मरन दा शौक भी सी. So I think it's not just the global north. I think the global south needed to be blamed for it equally as well.
So what can we do to be better prepared? Like you said, we're not prepared. And what role can innovative financing play in helping vulnerable communities adapt and recover?
So to begin with, the different federating units need to be talking to each other. There is a serious disjoint right now. A starting point is to have a taxonomy. And that taxonomy should have the representation from everybody, from private sector, from the banks, from the provinces, and from the federal government. It's a very interesting dynamic in Pakistan. The funding is with the federal government, the foreign currency funding, while the projects are in the provinces. And banks are operating in isolation, while the people who have to adopt the... So I have another hat to wear, by the way, other than PBA and Arosa Bank of Punjab. I'm also the chairman of Oil and Gas Development Company, which is the largest company in Pakistan. And that is the one which is which has to undertake the projects. So banks have to finance, they have to undertake, the policy action has to come from somewhere else. I can tell you in all honesty, I think none of these people are talking to each other the way they need to talk. And I see taxonomy as the real bonding platform for all of them to come together and talk about it. The issue also is with the awareness and the technical awareness about the climate projects also, and that's where we need the support. If we need the support anywhere from the global north, is actually on the technical side, on how those projects needs to be perceived. How can we make them more bankable, and then tap into the funding which is out there.
So if you were to share a vision for Pakistan in the next 5-10 years, how would you imagine it looking like, ideally?
मोमिना जवाब तो उसका बड़ा सिंपल है. ऑब्वियसली मैंने तो कहना बहुत ज़बरदस्त है फ्यूचर, बट टू बी ऑनेस्ट विद यू, विदाउट एनी with all candidness, I think I see a very bright future there. Now, why am I saying this? Let me just try and substantiate where I am coming from. Let's put the hand on your heart and tell me, a country like Pakistan, did you ever in your wildest dream imagine would be resolving the world issue on the world forum with one superpower on the other side, the other emerging superpower on the other side, at least in terms of ego? It is, we have done that. We've proven ourselves. So when we put our mind to something we genuinely pursue, then we deliver on it as well. Now, this was perhaps the easier piece. The difficult piece is now to now translate that goodwill that has been created to be then used for the betterment of our people. How can we channelize it towards improving the lives of our people in the thing? So far, because it's very fresh, I'm very optimistic that because on the global front, we are no longer a pariah. We used to be a pariah, no longer a pariah. We are the one nation which was acceptable to except for one country, acceptable to everyone to talk about and be part of the peace process. And this is a big win. So from a country which people thought and terrorism was supposed to be the thing about that country, is no longer that situation. Having said that, the task now at hand for all of us, for Amir Saab, for myself, for Hadi, for Momina, you, that how can we make sure that that is channelized in our country for the betterment of our own people. Let's see how far we'll go. So far, so good. If it doesn't happen in 1 year or 2 years, we come back and I'll apologize to you. But so far, the outlook is brilliant.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, Mr. Masud. That was
My
very
pleasure.
insightful.
Thank you very much.
We're going to open up for questions.
We talked about like two important things. One thing, women empowerment, and second thing, agriculture. So are you thinking about doing something in that regard?
आपका नाम क्या?
Tanzila.
Tanzila, that's what I said. We are the #1 women entrepreneurship bank in Pakistan. So last year, 30,000 loans were disbursed to women. 24,000 were delivered by Bank of Punjab. The other banks delivered 6,000 merely. On agriculture, we are the 1/3 of the total. $50 billion of funding has been done, mobilized by us. $1 billion funding, $500 billion in one cycle. $1 billion funding, more than $1 billion funding, has been mobilized with us in the last 18 months for different cycles through the Kisan card. And then on the SME also, mind you, women, by the way, equally are more involved in the SME side, the S and M side. Again, as I said, 1/3 there too. We're talking about 43 billion rupees. It's a substantial amount of money. Bank of Punjab, by the way, is by far the largest SME bank. The second bank, I don't want to take the name, the second bank is half of us. We are the largest bank in agriculture. The second bank is 70% of us. We are the largest bank in women entrepreneurship. I just shared the numbers with you. We are the largest bank in low-cost housing, where the entire industry on one side, Bank of Punjab alone is bigger than them 3 times in terms of number of mortgages. In terms of amount, exactly the same. In terms of credit card issuance, we are 33% of the market. 3.1 million total cards, 1 million are BOP alone. And lots of them are women, by the way, and the small businesses. And then digital lending, the industry is on one side, Bank of just 2-3 times of the total industry amount.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Hi, my name is Imad. So kind of going back off my question, you said that it's not a religion getting women's empowerment, but you said it's more of a cultural thing. So how do you see that changing? How do you actually drive that cultural change such that the men are being responsible for getting women into the workplace?
Like the way we are doing now. We need to talk about it. We need to hammer it in. We need to make sure that with our own actions. Okay, so this book, we haven't talked about this book, by the way. This book, Seat 1C, which has now become the international bestseller. It's already been published in Spanish. It's coming out in French. It's been translated into local languages, Sindhi already, Punjabi is just being done, and Urdu, of course. My entire thesis is that at an individual level, if we'll be able to improve ourselves, then the entire, what the society is made up of, people, individuals, what the nation is made up of, individuals, what the institutions are made up of, individuals, what is the humanity made up of, individuals. You just improve yourself and do the right thing, and trust me, it is contagious. And then you will see a change happening all across. If we all at our individual level start doing the right thing and improving ourselves, I think we will live in a better place, a better world. And that's what the starting point is. That's what we need to do, at least with our women. Support them. Talk about it. Just be an advocate of women empowerment and women to be brought into the mainstream. See, it will be much more acceptable than Pak Rupees. Pak Rupee has to then put their act together to make sure that they'll compete with Salman coin or whatever you want to call it, Cell coin. Let's call it Cell coin. With Cell coin, and they need to be prepared for it. They need to put their. So it is, to my mind, challenging and shaking up the sovereign to put their act together, to be much more responsive to the ideas and the needs of the people. There's another book which is another favorite of mine, वो हरीरी की है, Homodius, whereby he argues that individual will become more powerful than individuals get with God-like powers, and that God-like power is actually it's demonstrating. We can actually see it. This whole tinkering with the genetics. What about that? It was a no-go area for the humans. Now it is very much there. And these are the realities of life. We need to adopt them. We can't just look the other way and believe that everything will be all right. We need to make sure that the world is changing. Our generations are changing, by the way. Our younger people are changing. And that's the way we need to adopt ourselves to be more relevant with them.
Thank you. You mentioned about the demographic dividend, right? Because Pakistan with 60%, 67% of the
Below
52 million population under the age of 30, median age of 20. That's a tremendous demographic dividend. How do you, what do you think, policies in terms of harnessing that demographic dividend, to drive innovation, especially in the context of everything, Momina, and you talked about in terms of inclusion, innovation, to drive that next phase of transformation of Pakistan?
Great question, really, Arwa Saab. Now, the fact of the matter, Arwa Saab, is that nowhere in the world, and I'm again making a very strong statement, nowhere in the world these priority sectors or whenever the disruption is to be take place can happen without the support of the state. Even in the quintessential capitalist economy like United States of America, when they had to adopt to EVs, they came out with the interest-free fund for 7 years, which gave the birth to the organization like Tesla. So first of all, we need to demand and ask the state that you need to put the money where your mouth is. You need to now put the money for creating that ecosystem for the younger population. And if you look at economy like US, where the real impact took place when the venture capital and private equity took off. And this is where the state needs to step up and make sure that all those things which are relevant to the younger generation are made them available, and they are the one who has to step up and encourage the others to move in that direction. The others are not asking for much. They're asking for first law of absorption type guarantees. They're asking for some kind of concession on the financing. They're asking for the stop loss risks to be covered. And Pakistan, by the way, has already done that. There is a government fund which is coming through, which is putting in $10 million as the first loss. And I hope that we are one of the parties who pitch for it. That kind of ecosystem will allow the younger people to relate to things and come through. Another thing is that we also need to cross that barrier and mindset. Rosa, you know, in our part of the world, that's a big issue. That until unless you have grey hair, you can't be the C-suite or the CEO of the company. That barrier has to go away. It should be the individual younger people who needs to be given the front line and decision-making authority than the people staying behind. Until unless you change that paradigm, I don't think you'll be able to make a change. And that's necessary across in the organization, in the political system. You need younger politicians, you need younger decision makers. The way world is going, it's becoming a more competitive place every single passing second. And younger people can take those difficult decisions or a frontier risk. They have much more absorption for that than the people with salt and pepper hair.
Does anyone have another question?
Or not having the hair at all, by the way, somebody like me.
Actually, Mr. Zafar, who do you think is going to make that happen? Is it an initiative the younger people have to take, or is it something already in decision-making spaces that will
Collective.
make that happen?
It's again collective. We need to, we who are there, we need to be making the way for the younger people. We have to just take a side and move away as well. Realize yourself when your shelf life is over. We also don't like to accept that our shelf life is over. We know in our heart that our shelf life is over. We should not be a road roller. We should not be a road blocker. We should be the one who will create that path for them. Younger people needs to be responsive and behaving and much more maturely to the things and opportunities than perhaps they generally do. So it is both from a senior people to the junior people or younger people. They both need to realize and step up. And the acceptance, again, charter of society. The acceptance at the society level is very important. The younger people need to be given the helm of affairs. The baton has to be handed over to them for the future, for the last mile to be covered.
It's beautiful. If you don't mind, I just have one last question.
Sure.
If you actually are comfortable sharing.
Yeah.
Would you briefly share your experience of Seat 1C with us?
Sure, why not? So this book is all about, it's all about the experiences that I have had during that episode. The sequel is coming through, by the way. It's with the publisher right now. In the next 5-6 months, it will be out as well. It's called In the Courtroom of the Self, 30 Seconds Live Before Death. So rather than delving into the whole details of the book, it has 10 learnings. The 10 learnings are not by design. They just happen to be 10 learnings. But those 10 learnings are on those 30 seconds live before death. So we all worry about life after death. We all have our own belief, our myth, our faith on what will happen after life. but have we ever asked a question that there is life before death as well? Now, where am I coming from? I am one of those few people who've seen the death so closely and come back and in a position to tell the tale of what will happen when, and everybody has to go through those proverbial 30 seconds. It could be 1 minute in some cases, 1 month in some cases, but it do happen. And in those 30 seconds, we will be standing in our own court, answerable to ourselves of how we led our life. Now there are two lessons here. In our life after that, you are standing in front of a larger being, a much more generous being. We all have our faith in that, who will probably let go of the minor mistakes that we done in life. Are we in a position to let go of our minor mistakes when we are assessing ourselves? For that, you have to make yourself so large-hearted and generous to be to the others and to yourselves too. Secondly, live your life in such a way that in those 30 seconds when you are in your court, you shall not have any regrets. So do the assessment of yourself, introspection every night of how you spent the day, what is the course to be corrected, because if you have regrets in those 30 seconds, trust me, you have no chance of correcting the course at that time. You have the chance right now. So do it right now rather than waiting for that. And that's what my message from this episode, my musings from that horrible episode is from.
Dr. Zafar Masud, thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
And thank you all for joining us tonight.